So today I'm just going to run through the main resource of InFocus, or one of the forms of that main resource, which is the best practice guide. Oh my god, Vimtail man is burping like anything. Yeah, so it is the best practice guide. So here we have just the cover, and then a page that explains and then a page that explains what InFocus is. Go over some information sheets there. So information sheets are an important part of the project. A lot of people will do these as standard, but this just breaks down all the elements in case there's something that's not covered by someone's idea of an information sheet, and there's just a general guide for people who might not use them. So same thing with consent forms. Usually a consent form is a standard practice, part of many people's work. This just breaks down how to do it. Again, any elements someone might have missed, or if someone hasn't written one before, basically just how to do it. Briefings. So I think that a briefing is important at the start of every photo shoot. I know that these can be busy times and busy days, and sometimes even hours and minutes, depending on what you're shooting and how you're doing it. But I think it's really important to make time for a briefing so that everyone understands what's going to go on. So again, this just goes through roughly how to run a quick briefing. So the full stop system is probably the most unique part of the InFocus best practice system. So as part of my research and the background for the project, I actually looked at these systems that people who practice BDSM use to keep themselves safe and keep others safe, because it's a really big consideration for them. And I think it's oddly a very similar situation in that people are performing a physical task in a set space within usually a set time period, and there has to be provisions that make people safer in that scenario, and that is very much what I found when looking into BDSM. So they have a few systems that I've adapted in order to incorporate them into this system. So that has led me to full stop. There are a few different ways of doing this in terms of actual the exact specifics of how to execute it, but this just runs through roughly how to run a full stop system while you're on a shoot, and then this runs through some of the full stop methods. So for example, we have the safe word full stop, which is a particular word that should be sort of consciously considered. So I personally like to go with red, but if someone is, say, wearing a red dress, or there's a red background, or using red flowers as part of the shoot, that probably isn't an appropriate word, because it can refer to lots of different things during the photo shoot. So it has to be a specific word. And the advantage of this is it's just a quick and preset way to achieve communication. So it opens up the channel for communication and certain types of communication that I think sometimes can be intimidating for people behind a camera to try and access. Like, it can be very difficult when you've got all these people pointing at you to say no and refuse, versus if you have a word that you can just say and everyone understands what that means, and it's been made clear that there's going to be no judgment for using that word, and that there is something set aside to keep you safe and happy and content, and so that you can perform to your best in a project. I think that's really worthwhile. So anyway, enough tangents. That is one of the full stop methods. We also have the safe word gradual stop. So this is a very similar concept. However, it usually uses different actions. So the ones I like to say are your typical traffic lights, your red, orange, and green. Meaning this, I personally prefer this method because it lets you check in with models a lot easier. So you can say literally just, where are you on your traffic lights? What color are we feeling? At any point in the shoot that you think might be pushing a model in a certain way or might be difficult to achieve. And it again just opens those channels of communication that I think previously are very difficult to access, but in a slightly more comprehensive way. And the third one is a symbol-based stop. So there are going to be inevitably certain situations where verbalization isn't possible. So that can be either part of a costume or special effects makeup that covers the mouth and makes it either difficult to hear or difficult to speak, or it can be, your model could be someone who is non-verbal or hard of hearing, and for them it's easier to employ something that is more symbolic based. So in this case, there are lots of ways to do this, and it may have to require a little bit of creative thinking, but the basic one is to have different colored cards or different colored bins or anything that are set around that someone can point to or someone can hold up that explain the system. And again, this can be used with anything, animals, or just objects, and can really be customized, especially with people who might have particular needs on a photo shoot set. So debriefings, also very important, and I feel like a lot of people don't tend to do this. So just to explain and normalize and get everything back to normal, that's really important. A lot of times, and I'm guilty of this myself before embarking on this project, where you get someone painted up or in a costume or even in a certain state of mind, and then you don't help them normalize, and that can create a negative experience for people, and that's not what this system is about. And I also think it's not what we should be consciously doing as creatives. It's something that once you know better, you can do better with. So as well, I think it's important to discuss some of the things that happen during the shoot. It's important to discuss the outcomes of the shoot because, as I've said before, the system is very much understanding that this is a collaborative process, and also to discuss the intent of post-production and editing. And this is the important, or one of the other more important parts of the best practice system. So here there's just space for people to write down some of the post-production intentions. So say if a model says, I have a distinctive mole here that I think is part of my look and I don't want to be edited out, or I have a gap in my teeth, or I have a scar or a tattoo and I would like those to remain in, they're part of my image. Or even as simple as, I don't want my the appearance of my weight to be altered, or the appearance of any particular body part to be altered. So this will sort of require a little bit of back and forth and a little bit of discussion, but I think it's definitely an important step to creating an outcome that is respectful and an outcome that is a happy ending for the collaboration that a creative, a photographer, an editor, the whole team behind whatever shoot is being created can be a part of. So here we are, the good old production checklist. So yeah, this just goes through the production, keeps everything in check, makes sure that there's no issues before working, during working, and after working, but there are exceptions to this rule. So there are certain scenarios where breaking the system is going to be inevitable. Such as, say you're doing a winter-themed photo shoot outside in the snow, it's going to be cold. So in that case, it would break the production, or the pre-production part of the checklist is the photo shoot location a reasonable temperature? It's going to not be. But not every photo shoot to obtain every picture can be. So understanding before the production that is going to be an issue, here is the space for someone to plan for that being an issue. Oh gosh. I'm going to have to cut out like literally 5 burps. It's a joke. So in our winter photo shoot example, the production can bring coats, hot drinks, there can be a respite area. There are loads of ways to fix this as a problem and make the shoot a happier and better work environment for everyone involved and get the best performance out of your model, which I think is one of the most important things. And that's that. So that's just a really brief run through of the system, how it works, and this particular resource that's being created to support it.